Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Relentless Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Bryant, and I am the Relentless Investor. Today, I have on the podcast Whitney Ward. And as a real estate entrepreneur, Whitney Ward is a licensed realtor in the state of Georgia with Keller Williams Commercial. She specializes in commercial multifamily and works with new developers on both commercial and residential developments in the metro Atlanta market. She has also shifted her focus to not only broker real estate transactions, but has been studying the commercial multifamily space for over 18 months and is now actively seeking to close on her first syndication of 2019. Moving into the remainder of 2019, Whitney is pursuing her broker's license and building her CCIM portfolio to expand her knowledge and grow her real estate business. So, Whitney, welcome.
Thank you. That was an awesome intro.
You wrote it, so that is why. Whitney is calling in from Atlanta, like I said, and what interests me is the fact that you do have a real estate license, and I started there too, but that's because I didn't know how else to start. So what led you to getting your license, and what does it look like for your business?
So actually, it started in a transitional period from coming from corporate America. I was just looking to get into something else, grow into another space, start my own business. And the real estate license was the most attractive piece because I didn't have to go back to school, get my MBA, pay all that money. So that's how it started. Originally, it was just, hey, another career, another opportunity. And then it evolved into so much more once I learned the opportunities within real estate, because real estate's broad. There's so many aspects of it that you can go into. So I actually started in the residential side because the transactions are a lot faster and deals come a lot faster, money comes a lot faster. But I've always had the passion and enjoyed working with my investor clients. And their mindset on a deal, being very analytical myself, it was more interesting to hear their side, analyzing a deal, looking at a deal. So then I moved into the commercial space. So, yeah.
So awesome. I love that. And I thought the same way, but my problem was in the residential space, I didn't understand how to sell to the wife, which is a big problem. A huge problem. I was not making much money. We'll say that. But I was like, there's so much value here. There's so much value. That's
the wrong word. You have to say it's so warm. It's nice. It's pretty. Beautiful.
I was using all the wrong words. So awesome. And why? So you moved over to commercial and you liked the analytics of it. Yeah. But why did you decide not to be the traditional realtor and just broker real estate transactions, but also to invest?
So I think, if you're going to be a realtor or a broker, if you don't have any real estate assets, it kind of makes no sense. So that's part of it. The other part was that, the market goes up and down. And I think there's an opportunity, whether you are in real estate as a realtor or you work for a corporate company, you're a W-2 employee, you should always build your portfolio in investments. And for me, real estate is the best investment out there. And I like the ability that is tangible asset. You can see, feel it, analyze it. So for me, that's the big opportunity, is just building that portfolio, passive income, retirement, all that. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Going forward, you're working to find your first syndication. And before we started recording, we were actually talking about some of the other things she does. So Whitney, she hosts a meetup group, and she's involved with a mastermind. And she talked about meeting with her mastermind earlier and kind of going over what the plan going forward is. So as far as investments are concerned, what are you looking at in your market, Atlanta? Because everyone I know wants deals in Atlanta because it's such a good market.
Yeah, it is such a good market. And actually the mastermind, it's 3 other gentlemen, and I, we kind of got together. One person emailed or called us Friday and was like, "Hey, we need to do deals. Let's sit down. Let's get together. Let's figure this thing out. Four minds are better than one." So today we just kind of, basically planned out how we're going to pursue our acquisition. So we're focusing on anything from 20 to 100 units. And we're actually looking not just in the Atlanta market, we're looking in the Southeast. So we're looking in Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida. So just so we can have opportunities just, outside of just competing with everyone for Atlanta. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what made you come to the conclusion of 20 to 100 units? What was the logic behind it?
So our strategy was, there's less competition in the 20 to 100 units. There's a better chance of getting direct to owner. You have more mom and pop type owners. So, definitely for our first deal, we feel like the entry barriers are less in that range versus, going in the 100, 200, you're competing against institutional investors or your big timers. And so this puts us in a better position to be able to compete.
Okay. And do you think over time you'll continue to follow that specific type of asset for a long time, or will those goals shift a little bit as you grow the portfolio? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. So for us, we're all individual. We got our own individual LLCs and ownerships. So we're kind of going to collaborate on the first few deals. For me personally, I'm actually moving into starting my property management company and private equity firm so that my business itself will invest in multifamily, but also other businesses and perhaps also office spaces, just depending on, what kind of deals I can get within that.
So you're just a pure entrepreneur then.
Yep. It's crazy because it's so, I was really good at corporate. I got promoted and moved up, but I would always get bored. And, being an entrepreneur, no day looks the same. It's scary, but for some reason I enjoy that. So it's like, it's weird, but it's fun to feel uncomfortable and not know, but have the freedom to be creative and just, grow. You know what I mean?
So when did this start? Did you sell candy bars at school as a kid, or what was
No,
the first entrepreneurial venture for you?
it's weird because I actually played basketball and I played basketball in college. I played at George Mason, and I was always really competitive, and sports teach you to be competitive and just driven and everything. And I have three other siblings, and I've always been the one hey, we should start this or we should do this. I actually started looking at, prior to getting in real estate, I was going to start a franchise until I felt like it was a little too corporate still. And then a marijuana business actually. And that one's really restricted by the federal government. So I've always been in this space trying to look for that opportunity. But after reading and research, real estate just landed on that, and it kind of grew into something. So.
Got you. So what would you consider in your business? What would you consider success? Say in the next 3 to 5 years, what are your targets? What are you looking to achieve?
So, for me, like I said, I'm starting a property management company. My business partner, she has managed over 3,000 units in her portfolio. So growing that to a point where it's functioning and kind of running on its own. And then, that private equity, just being able to build into that and then acquire more assets. I mean, over time, it might be a lofty goal, but $1 billion in assets under management would be awesome. So, very, very driven, Caleb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people that say it's lofty, their version of reality is different. So everybody talks about being realistic, and I'm like, well, my version of realistic is just different than yours.
Yeah.
so you're gonna hit that.
I mean, and hey, if you miss it, you're like $500 million. I mean, it's awesome.
No one that made $500 million or acquired $500 million of property was hurting too bad in that category. Oh, I missed $1 billion. Okay. Got it. So You've quit your W-2 job then, and
Yep.
it's all real estate. So what led up to that? What was the driving force, and what did you have to do before you could quit?
So actually, I worked for a big company here. I don't want to name it for whatever reasons, but they were getting bought out, and it was just being in that corporate space. I was in sales and marketing, and understanding that job security didn't really exist. A lot of people lost their jobs, or were demoted and then lost their income, which is almost like losing your job. And I just saw that as like, this isn't secure, right? So once the new company took over, a lot of things changed. It was a big change to the atmosphere, the policies, everything. And for me, I wasn't happy. And so it was funny because the only reason I'm sitting here today as an entrepreneur is because my dad, I'm crying to him. I'm like, Dad, this sucks. I can't do this anymore. And he's like, just quit. And so I mean, I honestly didn't even I was like, man, I need to save all this money. I don't, and so he said, just quit. So the next day I literally went in and quit and gave my 2 weeks. And then it was like it was around my birthday time and everything. And I was just like amazed that I made that decision, but I haven't looked back since. And I've made it. Like I've been able to figure it out, every day, every week. So it's been like the best thing I've ever done.
That's amazing. And it's funny because I never thought I need this job. And I think it's because I knew you could always go get another one, but two, everybody always asked me like, well, don't you worry? I'm like, well, you could worry at a job too. You're worried about what your boss thinks, and you're worried about potentially getting fired. Like security is a myth. So you might as well do what you want and get paid to do it. So
Yep.
that's amazing. So sales and marketing was your specialty then. Do you, I mean, you're a realtor, so I'm sure you use a lot of sales and marketing now. How are you going to use that as far as finding deals?
So it's funny because actually now, to become a better investor friendly realtor, I kind of focused on what the investor thinks and that mindset. So it's kind of hurt me from a sales perspective as a realtor, because you're not selling you just anything. You're trying to provide value now.
Yeah.
So I'm filtering through deals, and if I know it's not going to work for my investors, I'm not even sending it. So I'm probably not the best salesperson, but it's worked for me and it's helped me build relationships. As far as for how I'm going to get deals, I have just used the approach. I actually do not call anyone, because I personally hate when people call me and I don't know their number. So I'm more just, email, reach out to them, just say, introduce myself, my team being, my mentor, and then, the people that I am going to acquire deals with, and just offer to, purchase their property and see where we go from there. The worst they can say is no. And, we move on from there. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I hate cold calling,
Yeah.
and people always say, well, you got to do what you hate. Not always.
Yeah.
If I do need cold calling, I just pay someone to do it because I cringe up. I'm literally worthless on the phone that way. But I like the way you're doing it. That's similar to how I would do it. What is the most valuable mindset that you found that's really helped you with business?
I guess relentlessness. So being able to just right. So being able to just constantly get up every day and pursue what I'm trying to accomplish, and just being relentless with it, nonstop. And I mentioned earlier, I played sports in college, or I played basketball in college. That mindset was taught to me at an early age. I mean, you get out there, you lose, you come back and you win. You might lose a few, it is what it is, so and it drives me. I like competition. I like challenges. And so all of this kind of plays into who I am as a person. So even when it's like, what am I going to do? There's no deals coming through, I'm not selling a lot of real estate right now. What's going to happen? I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's going to work out. I just got to keep doing the work.
Yeah. Well, that was a cool answer. I have a question later that you might have to rehash some of that, but that was good. That was good. So team building. You have this mastermind of people, going back to what we talked about earlier. And how did you find this team? How did you build your team, and what do you look for in team members?
Sure. So for me, through networking, again, you said earlier, I host a multifamily meetup in Atlanta, and I do it in a strategic networking way. So basically, what I do is, it's a roundtable session. We go around the room, run round, and we talk about who we are and what we do. And then we the second round, kind of peel that layer down again and talk more about, like, what are we passionate about? What do we do outside of our business and investments? And then I just like to do it in a way so that we build a relationship to the point we feel like we know, trust, and like a person enough to do business with them. So it's been through my meetups. It'll be through Facebook groups. It'll be through anything in the multifamily space in Atlanta I'm pretty much a part of, just diving in and being a part of anybody that's doing deals.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you have this in Atlanta because people invest in Atlanta from all over. So in Huntsville, where I'm at, there are several, there are a couple owners that live here, but tons and tons of them are out of state. So how are you networking with people that are buying in the area that don't live in the area?
Sure. So a lot of times, I guess you're asking that question from a realtor perspective, networking with people that are buying in this area or just buying in general.
I was asking really from as a selfish question because I'm struggling with that. Finding
Sure.
the people who are buying here because they're all out of state. So is there a place you go to meet with people like this? Are there different types of networking groups or events that you would recommend that work well for you or have in the past?
So I haven't really, that's a good question. I haven't really tapped into anyone from out of state. I've had out of state people call me and ask me for deals. And that's probably because being a realtor and my marketing, and through word of mouth. But I've just really focused on honing into building the relationships around here and seeing where we can buy. But also being a realtor, I have access to other commercial agents in other cities. That's helped me, build some deal flow and stuff like that. But from a partnership perspective or a future buyer perspective, I haven't tapped into that really.
Okay, got you. So you talked about in your meetups, you have the round table, and you ask each other, "What are you passionate about?" So I'm going to ask you that question. See what kind of answer we get, or if I was to attend your roundtable meetup, what type of answer I would get.
So I mentioned basketball. Basketball is my first passion, my first love. I actually assistant coach girls varsity basketball at the Lovett School here in Atlanta. It's in Vinings. And it's a private school, and we won the regional championship this year,
Nice.
Went to state. So that's my passion. I love giving back. It's varsity, so the girls were 14 to 17 years old. And it's something that I did, for so much time of my life, and something that, like I said earlier, is similar to what I'm going through now. You have that evolution of different challenges and growth and experience, and then you then eventually become an expert at what you're doing. And it correlates to what I'm doing now. And I was able to go to practice and just not even think about anything. And when you can get to that point where that's your focus and nothing else matters, it's a passion. So that's my main passion.
Love it. Practice was a struggle for me, so I guess basketball wasn't my pure passion. It taught me, the cool thing about you saying coaching though is it taught me a lot of lessons that I didn't necessarily know I was learning at the time, but later I looked back and was like, oh, that's what coach meant, or
Yep.
That's where that type of character came from, or that's how I learned how to overcome this type of situation. So what you're feeding into those young ladies' lives is awesome. So this is the part of the show where I ask everybody these questions. So the first one is, what is a song that motivates you?
So it's by Jay-Z and Kanye West. The real title I'm not going to name, but it's Ball So Hard. And it's just the beat is just insane. Now I listen to all types of music, but this one right here, like that's my motivational song.
It's a banger.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is an example of when being relentless benefited your business?
What I'm going through right now. I mean, I'm living that example. Just even to develop into where I'm at today, from when I started in real estate, I've had to be relentless in my pursuit of deals, of clients, of closing deals. So, I mean, I'm living proof of relentlessness right now.
Awesome. Awesome. We got to get you a hat.
I gotta get some beer. I know.
If you could only recommend one book to anyone for the rest of your life, what book would you choose?
That would have to be Mamba Mentality. It's by Kobe Bryant. It's his first book, but he was also my favorite basketball player. But his mindset is he's just got a killer instinct. He's like, he loves competition. He loves a challenge, and it's just, having the mindset to accept a challenge and be able to work hard enough to get through it. So definitely read that book. You don't even have to be an athlete to read the book and be able to relate to it.
Well, I was an athlete. I don't want to say I am an athlete now because it's not exactly the same. Maybe a different type of athlete now than I was.
No, once an athlete, always an athlete.
Okay. I run slower now, but I still run.
Oh yeah, you're running a marathon, right?
A half. I'm not up to that 26 level yet.
That's so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. But funny story. When I went to the Philippines when I was like 14, and we were running a basketball camp out there. And my last name is Bryant. So at the airport and everywhere I went, they're like, "Oh, are you related to Kobe?" I'm like, "Well, no." We're like second cousins, maybe.
That's funny.
But yeah, every single customs agent in the Philippines asked me that question. So
that's awesome.
How do you like to give back? And I know you said coaching, but is there anything else beyond that?
I just anything with the youth. So any type of camps, coaching. I just feel like the biggest opportunities in the youth, because they're the future. So anytime you can, give back to them or provide some value, especially at our age, being able to relate to them. We know social media, we're millennials. So, we can relate even, if they're 13, 14 years old, we're doing the same things a lot of times. So, just anything with the youth.
I love it. Awesome. And finally, how can listeners get in contact with you? Because they're going to want to invest in your deals at some point.
Sure. Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Whitney Ward. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Ward Real Estate Team. Again, that's The Ward Real Estate Team, but you can find me on both platforms.
Awesome. Whitney, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for coming on the show. You brought a lot of value, and that's going to help a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.